The clock struck midnight. Emma sat on the couch, her phone resting on her lap. She had been scrolling aimlessly for hours, her mind a blur of exhaustion and confusion. Her husband, Derek, was out. He had said he was going to meet some friends for a drink. But something felt off. The way he had left so quickly. The coldness in his eyes when he kissed her goodbye. The strange messages on his phone that she couldn't ignore. Sound of phone unlocking and scrolling. She opened her text messages, her thumb hovering over a conversation between Derek and someone called Elle. Can't wait to see you tonight. You've been on my mind all day. Her stomach turned. Derek's reply. Same here, babe. Counting down the hours until I can be with you. Her heart pounded. This wasn't right. She didn't want to believe it, but she knew deep down. Derek wasn't just meeting friends. Sound of phone vibrating. Emma's hand shook as she called Derek. It rang twice before going to voicemail. She ended the call, then called again. Voicemail. Again and again. Panic tightened around her chest. She grabbed her coat and her purse. She needed answers. Emma drove faster than usual, her fingers gripping the steering wheel tightly. The neon lights outside blurred as her thoughts raced, spiraling into a void of doubt and fear. Every light that turned green felt like a signal from the universe that she was doing the right thing. She glanced at her rearview mirror, then quickly looked away. She didn't want to think about how she could already feel the cold bite of betrayal on her skin. Her car sped down the street, each turn more desperate than the last. She was chasing an answer, but what if she didn't want to find it? She had no choice now. She had to know. The thumping music vibrated the pavement beneath Emma's feet as she parked across the street. She didn't need to walk any closer. She saw them from here. Derek's car was parked near the entrance. A knot tightened in her stomach. Emma stepped out of her car, trying to steady her breath. The buzzing of the nightclub lights seemed louder, like it was mocking her every step. She wasn't ready for this. She didn't know what she was hoping to find, but this wasn't it. She pushed the door open and entered, the noise surrounding her, making everything feel distant. She scanned the room, her eyes frantic. And then she saw them. Derek and Elle. They were sitting at a dark corner booth, laughing too loudly. Elle leaned in close, whispering something into Derek's ear. His eyes were full of that same look he used to give her. But now it wasn't for her. Emma felt the ground shift beneath her. She moved quickly, the rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins. Every step felt too heavy, as if the floor was pulling her down. She didn't care if she was being reckless. She didn't care about the people around her. Derek, her voice was loud, harsh, cutting through the music. He turned to her, a flicker of surprise crossing his face, then quickly replaced with a forced smile. Emma, what are you doing here? Derek's voice was too calm, too practiced. Elle looked between the two of them, a strange, cold smile playing on her lips. Are you kidding me right now? Emma's voice cracked. Her fists clenched at her sides. You're with her, Derek? After everything? Derek's smile faltered, his eyes darting to Elle. Emma, it's not. It's not what, Derek? Her voice trembled. You told me you were meeting friends. You've been lying to me for months. Elle stood up, as if to intervene, but Derek's hand shot out, stopping her. Please, let me handle this, he said, his voice low. Handle what? Emma spat, her eyes burning with betrayal. Are you seriously going to stand here and lie to my face? Derek's posture stiffened, and for a moment, Emma thought he might actually defend himself. But instead, he just looked at her with pity in his eyes. Emma, I didn't want to hurt you. I really didn't. His voice dropped. But Elle and we've been seeing each other for a while now. Emma felt the world around her shatter, piece by piece. And you thought I wouldn't find out? Her voice was trembling now, but she refused to cry. Not in front of him. Not in front of her. I never meant for it to happen like this. Derek's voice was soft, as if he was explaining something trivial, like a forgotten errand. I never meant to hurt you. Her eyes narrowed. And how long? 3 months. 3 months. Emma's heart dropped. She felt dizzy, like the ground beneath her was collapsing. But then something inside her snapped. 3 months. She repeated the words, a dark laugh escaping her. Are you serious right now? 3 months, and you think you can just... She stopped, mid-sentence, her eyes narrowing as a thought began to creep into her mind. A chilling thought. If this has been going on for 3 months, why was I just finding out now? Derek froze, the slightest twitch in his eyes. Emma's gaze sharpened. "You're lying," she whispered. Derek opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. "You've been lying this whole time, haven't you?" Emma stepped forward, her eyes searching his face, waiting for the truth. "Derek, why didn't I know before? You came home early last week. You were acting different. You were looking at me differently." The silence stretched between them. Elle's smirk faded as she took a step back. Emma saw her glance at Derek, then quickly look away. Derek swallowed hard. He wasn't meeting her eyes anymore. His hand moved slightly, almost imperceptibly. "Emma, it's not what you think." "No, it's exactly what I think. You've been playing me this whole time." Suddenly, everything clicked into place. The missed calls, the secretive glances, the feeling that something wasn't right, even when Derek was home. "You're not just seeing her, are you?" Emma's voice broke, and the tears she had held back for so long began to spill. "This isn't just an affair. You've been replacing me." Derek's face paled. He opened his mouth, but no words came. He looked like a man who had just realized that the world was slipping away from him. Elle took a step forward, her face cold and emotionless. "It's not what you think," Elle said, her voice almost robotic. "It was never about replacing anyone." "No." Emma shot back, shaking her head. "You're lying. All of you are lying." Emma ran out into the cold air, gasping for breath. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. Her heart was pounding too hard in her chest. She had never been so angry, so betrayed. But somewhere deep down, a part of her was relieved. She wasn't crazy. She hadn't imagined the distance. And this wasn't just about Derek. This was about her. About how she had ignored the signs for so long. She couldn't stay in this town anymore. Emma stared out the window as the city blurred around her. Her phone buzzed in her lap. It was Derek. She let it ring. Then another call came, and another. She picked up the phone and slammed it against the dashboard, tears streaming down her face. "Goodbye, Derek," she whispered, her voice broken. Emma drove. The road stretched before her, dark and endless. Her heart was broken, but she knew she had to keep moving. She didn't know where she was going, but she knew she couldn't go back. Emma stood in the doorway of her apartment, staring at the place that had once felt like home. The silence was deafening now. The scent of Derek's cologne still lingered in the air, an unbearable reminder of everything she had lost. She stepped inside, her fingers brushing over the familiar objects, the coffee table, the photos, the old chair they used to sit in together. Each item felt like it was mocking her, mocking the life she thought she had. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. This was her home, but now it felt foreign. Emma sat on the floor, a photo album open in her lap. The pages were filled with memories, vacations, anniversaries, birthdays. The faces smiling at her seemed so happy, so innocent. But the faces weren't hers anymore. They were just strangers she once knew. She flipped through the pages slowly, her eyes lingering on a picture of their wedding day. She could still remember the joy, the excitement in her chest. But now, all she felt was emptiness. Her thumb ran over the photograph, tracing the outlines of their faces, as if to remind herself that they once meant something. But what did it all mean now? Emma sat in the dimly lit room, her phone buzzing on the coffee table. She glanced at it again. Another message from Derek. "Can we talk? I never wanted to hurt you." She stared at the screen, every muscle in her body tensing. She hadn't wanted to face this, hadn't wanted to deal with this. But she had to. "No," she typed back, her fingers trembling. "There's nothing to talk about." She hit send and put the phone down, trying to ignore the ache in her chest. The ache of betrayal, of her heart, still raw and aching. Emma stood in the kitchen, staring at the bottle of wine on the counter. She hadn't drunk in months, but now she needed something to numb the pain. She poured herself a glass, the dark liquid swirling around the edges. She needed something to help her forget, even if just for a moment. She drank it quickly, then poured another, and another. Her vision blurred as the weight of her thoughts pressed down on her like a physical force. She couldn't think straight. She couldn't breathe right. She woke with a start. The room was still dark, the only sound the faint hum of the refrigerator. Her heart raced. She had dreamed of Derek, but it wasn't a pleasant dream. It was filled with images of him with Elle, their faces twisting into something grotesque. She tried to call out to him, but no sound came from her lips. The dream felt real. Too real. She ran her hands over her face, trying to shake off the remnants of the nightmare. The pain still clung to her. The sun was bright, and the air was crisp, but Emma felt numb. She walked slowly, her steps deliberate, as if she were trying to outrun the weight of everything that had happened. She passed families, joggers, people laughing and enjoying their lives, but none of it mattered. None of it could reach her. Still, she had to keep moving. She had to take the first step toward healing, toward get her life back. Emma dialed a number she hadn't called in months. It rang twice before a familiar voice answered. "Hey, Emma. It's been a while. How are you?" "Not good," Emma said, her voice shaky. "I need help." Emma sat across from her best friend, Kate. The warmth of the coffee shop contrasted sharply with the coldness Emma felt inside. Kate had been her rock through everything, college, breakups, and now this. But Emma could see the worry in her friend's eyes. "You don't have to go through this alone," Kate said gently. "We'll figure it out, one step at a time." Emma nodded, feeling a faint flicker of hope. For the first time in a while, she didn't feel completely alone. The doorbell rang. Emma froze. She hadn't expected anyone, but the voice on the other side was unmistakable. "Emma, please, let me explain." Derek's voice was muffled but clear. Emma took a deep breath. She wasn't ready for this, but something inside her knew that she had to face him, if only to close this chapter once and for all. She opened the door. Derek stood there, his hands in his pockets, looking apologetic, but his eyes didn't match his words. "I never wanted to hurt you," he said softly. "I was confused. I don't know what happened." Emma didn't flinch. She had heard all before. The lies. The excuses. "You don't get to apologize, Derek," she said, her voice steady. "Not after everything." He opened his mouth to respond, but Emma cut him off. "I don't want to hear it." Derek stood in silence for a moment before speaking again. "I want to fix this, Emma." She shook her head. "No, Derek, I can't fix this. You've broken me, and I don't know if I'll ever trust you again." With that, she closed the door. The finality of the action echoed through her, leaving her with a strange sense of peace. She couldn't undo what had happened, but she could control what came next. Weeks passed. Emma began to walk with a lighter step, as though the burden of her past was slowly lifting. She started doing things she'd put off, taking yoga classes, rediscovering her old hobbies, seeing friends. She still had her bad days, days when the weight of it all pressed down on her. But the good days were becoming more frequent. Emma stood in front of a painting, her eyes taking in the vibrant colors. It wasn't something she would have appreciated before, but now it felt like a symbol of her life, chaotic, yet beautiful in its own way. Kate stood beside her. "I'm glad you came tonight. You've needed this." Emma nodded, feeling a new sense of possibility. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers. As Emma walked down the street, she spotted someone familiar, a man in a suit, holding a briefcase. She didn't recognize him at first, but as he drew closer, she saw it. Derek. He looked at her with hesitation in his eyes. She stopped walking. "Emma, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I just wanted to say that. I hope you find happiness." She didn't answer at first, just looked at him. And then, slowly, she nodded. "Goodbye, Derek." Derek watched Emma walk away, a sense of finality settling in his chest. She was gone, for good this time. But as he stood there, watching her disappear into the distance, something inside him shifted. He had lost her, yes, but perhaps that was the best thing that could have happened to him. Emma lay on her mat, her breath steady, her mind clear. She had finally come to terms with what had happened. It hadn't been easy, but she was healing. The teacher's voice was soothing as she guided the class into the next pose. Emma felt the last of her anger melt away, replaced by something new. Strength, acceptance, peace. Emma stood in front of the mirror, looking at her reflection. The woman staring back at her wasn't the same person who had cried in Derek's arms. She had changed. She was stronger now, not because of what she'd endured, but because she had chosen to move forward. Sitting in her favorite coffee shop, Emma watched the world move around her. The chatter of strangers, the rush of city life. For the first time in months, she felt a sense of contentment. She had learned to rely on herself, and that, she realized, was enough. A few weeks later, as Emma walked through the park, she noticed someone in the distance. It was him, Derek. They locked eyes for a brief moment, but this time there was no tension, no animosity. Just two people who had once meant everything to each other, and now, nothing. She walked on without stopping. There were no words left to say. Emma closed the door behind her after returning home from a long day. As she set her keys down, she took a deep breath. She had reclaimed her life. She was free. Emma sat across from a man she had met a few weeks ago at a friend's gathering. His name was Michael, and they had connected over shared interests. It wasn't love at first sight, but there was a quiet comfort between them. She nervously adjusted her napkin, but then Michael smiled at her, a warm and genuine smile. It made her pause. He wasn't Derek. He wasn't someone who could hurt her. "You okay?" he asked softly. Emma nodded, her heart still a little hesitant. But there was no rush. She was finally learning how to just be present. "I'm good," she said, allowing herself to relax. The journal had been tucked away in a drawer for months, a forgotten relic of a life she'd tried to leave behind. She pulled it out now, flipping through the pages. They were filled with memories of her early days with Derek, dreams, hopes, plans. Words that now felt like lies. She closed the book slowly. She didn't need it anymore. It wasn't her story anymore. She had a new chapter to write. Emma sat in the therapist's office, her therapist's gentle voice filling the room. "You're making progress, Emma," Dr. Parker said, a reassuring smile on her face. "You're not defined by what Derek did. You're free to become whoever you want to be." Emma nodded, taking in the words. For the first time in a long time, she truly believed it. Emma was halfway through a book when her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Derek. She hesitated, then opened the message. "I miss you, Emma. Can we talk?" Her stomach twisted, but she knew what she had to do. She didn't reply. Not because she hated him, but because she was done. Done with the past. Emma stood on the cliffs overlooking the ocean. She had planned this solo trip for months, a chance to get away from everything. To breathe, to think. The wind whipped her hair around her face as she closed her eyes and let the sound of the waves wash over her. She had found her peace. Emma stood in front of her new desk, her heart pounding with excitement. This wasn't just any job. It was the job she had dreamed of, the kind that made her feel alive again. As she unpacked her things, she glanced at the photograph of her and Kate at the beach. She had come so far, and this was just the beginning. Emma held a plank position, her body shaking with effort. The teacher's soothing voice guided her through the poses, but Emma was focused inward. She had learned to take care of herself in ways she never had before. Her body, her mind, her spirit, they all deserved attention. And for the first time in a long while, Emma felt strong. Kate slid a colorful invitation across the table. "I'm throwing a party," she said, grinning. "I'd love for you to be there." Emma raised an eyebrow. "A party? Are you sure you want me there?" Kate laughed. "Of course. You deserve to have fun. It's been a while." Emma smiled, a genuine smile, and accepted the invite. She was ready for new things, new people, new experiences. Emma and Michael walked side by side, their pace matching. The cool night air felt refreshing. Emma found herself laughing more freely, not guarded like she had been before. She wasn't ready for a relationship, not yet, but she was learning to trust again, learning that not everyone would hurt her. Emma sat on her couch, staring at her phone. It was Derek again. "Please, Emma, I'm sorry. I can't stop thinking about you." Her heart wavered for a moment, the flood of memories threatening to drown her. But she shut it down. She was stronger than that now. She deleted the message without replying. There was a knock at the door. Emma opened it, surprised to find her mother standing on the other side, a concerned look on her face. "Mom," Emma said, stepping aside to let her in. "What's going on?" Her mother hesitated. "I know we haven't talked much, but I wanted to see how you're doing. You've been through a lot. Emma smiled softly. I'm getting there, Mom. I really am. Emma stood in front of her bedroom mirror, looking at herself. The woman staring back at her wasn't the same person who had cried in Derek's arms. She had changed. She was stronger now, not because of what she'd endured, but because she had chosen to move forward. Emma sat across from Michael at a cozy Italian restaurant. They had been seeing each other casually, but tonight felt different. She could sense it in the way they talked, the way they laughed together. I like this, Michael said, his eyes meeting hers. I like us. Emma smiled, her heart light. She wasn't sure where this would go, but she was enjoying the journey. Derek sent one last message. I just wanted to apologize for everything, Emma. I never wanted to hurt you. I'll always care for you. Emma read the message. It didn't sting anymore. She had let go of the pain. She sat down, typed a reply, and hit send. It's okay, Derek. I hope you find what you're looking for. And that was it. There was nothing left to say. The party was in full swing. People were laughing, dancing, and enjoying the night. Emma felt free, surrounded by friends who cared about her. Kate grabbed her hand and spun her around. You're amazing, Emma. Look at you. Emma laughed, her heart full. She had found joy again, not in the way she had once imagined, but it was real. Emma stood on the rooftop, looking out over the city. It was beautiful. The lights, the energy, it reminded her of everything she had built. She had come so far, and yet, she knew this was just the beginning. There was so much more ahead of her. Emma walked into the coffee shop where she and Derek had first met. It felt like another lifetime ago. She sat down at a table by the window, sipping her coffee. For a moment, the memories resurfaced, good and bad, but she didn't linger on them. They were just part of her past now. She had made peace with it. Emma sat on a blanket in the park, laughing with new friends she had met through yoga. They were kind, supportive, and made her feel welcome in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. She realized, with a sudden clarity, that these people were her new family. People who saw her for who she was now, not who she had been with Derek. As Emma walked down the street, she noticed the change within herself. The uncertainty, the fear, the pain, she had shed them all. She was no longer defined by her past. She was finally free, and for the first time in years, she could see the world clearly. Emma stood at the edge of the water, the first light of dawn painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. The ocean stretched endlessly before her. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and smiled. The world was wide open, and she was ready to embrace whatever came next. The past was behind her. The future was waiting, and Emma was ready to live it. Emma's journey is just beginning, and so is yours. Whether it's healing from heartbreak, finding your strength, or rediscovering the joy you thought you lost, remember, the power to change your story is in your hands. If Emma can take that first step, so can you. Don't wait for tomorrow. Start today, embrace your future, and take control of your own narrative. Subscribe, like, and share this video to inspire others to reclaim their lives. You are never alone in this journey, and your best chapter is still ahead.